an opportunity will be able to come back and view this if they need. So what are we going to do today? We're going to go through the purpose and format of the meeting very quickly. We are going to go through some of the definitions and access for Actimo. So just some of the terminology we might use. And also we want to talk about how we create content. We'll give an overview of how it's created, the different steps along the way for publishing content and then analyzing content afterwards. And I'm going to do a demo myself where I'll show you exactly how we do that within the app. So lastly, I'd just like to mention as well, there's an active Q&A for the whole session. If you have any questions at all, please ask my colleague Oscar, who'll be managing the Q&A. And Oscar is a well of knowledge, so he'll be able to answer any questions you might have. And just speaking of that, the technical support team. So myself, Danny in the middle here. I have the shortest stint so far in Actimo, and Oscar is one of the longest serving guys. So, like I said, plenty of knowledge there. And Alejandro as well looks after Actimo from time to time. You might have spoken to one of us already, but for the most part, we're all here to help as much as we possibly can. All right. So, how do you contact us? From your platform, from your editor platform, you'll have a little chat bubble in the bottom right corner. Open up that chat bubble. If you have any questions at all, fire them into to ourselves, or you can get links to the help center here. So this chat bubble will be able to supply information from our help center, or it'll directly put you in contact with us. Also, we have the support at actimo.com email. It's the exact same thing. It's going to come to us regardless. Whatever is more convenient for you, use that way. And this here, I'd like to spend a moment on because this is our Bible. This is where me and the support guys make a lot of reference to. We're updating it all the time. It has a huge amount of information. So I can't stress enough, if you're looking for some information about the app at any stage, feel free to open up the help desk. It has loads of stuff in there. Also, what I'd like to mention is that if you think there's anything that's not in there that you've been looking for, please let us know. For example, in the Q&A right now, you can let Oscar know, here's something I'd like to see in there that I haven't been able to find. If you think there could be a video for something, absolutely let us know. We'll be happy to create it. We're always updating it. It's very much kind of the source of all our information. So absolutely let us know if you think this could be improved, but feel free to see what's in there already. So purpose and format. Like I said, the purpose is for brush up on some fundamentals, create a message, learn how to make that message a little bit engaging, and push that message out to our customers. Our customers, our employees, our end users, or our colleagues in this case. So we're going to learn how to push out the message, and then we're going to learn how to analyze how that message is doing. The format, as you can see, we're going to do some slides here. We're also going to do a demo and just show you exactly how to create the content, and I'll do that myself. And like I said, Oscar's there for any questions you have along the way. You can ask it in the chat if you like in the Zoom webinar, or you can also ask it in the Q&A, whichever you prefer, guys. So definitions and access. When we talk about the Actimo app, we're always referring to what the end user is using. So whenever you're creating content and pushing it out, that's going to the app. That's when it's kind of what your colleagues will be seeing all the time. That's what we mean by the app. On the other hand, what you guys will be using is the editor platform and the back end. So that's where you create the content. That's where we create all of that content that's going to be sent out to our colleagues or to our end users. And of course, editors and admins are yourselves. It's the people who will be creating that content. They're the people with access to this back end. Employees, end users, we call them contacts, but feel free to use any of this terminology. We'll understand what you mean. Contacts is the official term. Everyone has a contact ID, for instance. This is all of the different end users on your app will be identified with contact ID. So on to the next one. Basically, we have the app available on mobile devices, of course. You can get it from the App Store and you can get it from Google Play, depending on if you're iOS or Android. It's a fairly simple process. Download the app, and the idea is that the user will already be set up on the platform. They just put in the phone number you have for them or the email that you've set up for them, and then they'll get a verification code and log in without issue. The same goes, of course, for desktop. And this is the desktop link that people can use to sign in on the desktop. Some particular clients have subdomains that might be a little bit different, but for 99% of the time, this is the login for your end users. Again, just put in their phone or email that are registered for them on the platform. They get a verification code, and away they go. And for yourselves as admins and editors, basically we send out this particular email that you can see here on the right hand side, gives you a one-time password. So for any new editors, new admins, they'll see something like this, and they'll sign in a slightly different way. And that different way is not via the app, of course. It's actually via using this link here, which can be found in the Help Center, and we can send it on to you if you need. But also on Actimo.com, this login button on the top right corner, this login button is for admins and editors. This isn't for end users. So this is for admins and editors to log in on Actimo.com website. All right. So creating and publishing content. So this is the bread and butter of what we're going to be doing today, how we're going to create content for our end users and then publish it. First and foremost, it's kind of a three-step process, more or less. You design your message fairly simply using the different modules we offer in Actimo. We categorize that message to decide where it's going to appear exactly for certain users. We decide who those users are going to see it are, recipients. So we select who we want to publish it to, and then we decide how we're going to notify those people. It's typically an app push notification that you get from any app, but also, of course, we can notify via SMS and via email if there's new content created. This little graphic down the bottom here explains that fairly well. It's a three-phase process. We design our message, we publish it to those who we want to see it, and then after it's published, we want to know how that message is doing with analytics. And we'll see these three different headings appear when we're creating a message. They come up in three tabs in the editor. So the design phase. So the first part of it, first and foremost, what's quite important, we want to give our messages a title. All right. Just a title for ourselves. It doesn't necessarily mean it's what the end user will see, but you want a title in there, and then a message ID will get assigned automatically. So we want to give it a title. The message ID is automatic. Then we want to go and we want to design our message using all these different modules. We can make it something that's more static, like a text module, or something more dynamic. We'll say like a quiz module to engage people. That's all a part of this design, this first step. After that, we want to go on and we want to publish our content. So kind of a two-step process here. Publishing is first and foremost, yes, we want to assign a category. So like I mentioned before, we want to put categories on messages. So we're kind of deciding where they might appear and what feeds they might appear in. And these feed modules are configured with a category. So if we create a message with that category, it appears in that feed module. And we also have this option for content preview. And this is how it's going to look in the list of messages. So we can change the thumbnail here. We can change what it says. Like I said, it might not be exactly what we call our message. We can change how that appears in the feed module. And we can add other text here in the content preview. So we can decide exactly how it will look to our users when they see it listed in their app. This kind of brings us on to the next part of publishing, which is these two things here, which is the publishing. So we can decide to publish it to certain users or certain groups. And in this case, you can see the customer success, that's probably a team. And you can basically decide exactly who you're publishing this message to, who's going to have access to this message. And then also we can decide to notify those people. We don't have to notify them. Some admins prefer to have it much more of a pull method where the users come in and they might see it on the app, and then others prefer to notify everyone. This is an update. We're going to let you know via SMS, etc. This screen is nearly the exact same. The only difference now is that the category and the content preview is actually in the middle of 3 and 4. It's otherwise the exact same. On to the next part, and it's of course analytics, which is the third and final part of the message. So the message has been published, it's out there, your users are engaging with it. Analytics comes in handy because we want to know how people are engaging with it. We want to know how it's performing. And we get some really good insight here about how many people have opened it, who's it been published to, how many of those have been notified about it, who's viewed it. And then you have your traffic sources. What means are people using to engage with this content? Uh, we can actually break down, if you see just below here in module analytics, we can break it down further into how is each module doing? Are people engaging with that type of module? It can help you, of course, choose what module do you use in the future. You can just see if some modules could be improved. So that's just the overview of these three tabs. So I'd like to stop sharing for a moment and I will start with our demo. So just give me a moment and I'll set that up for you. And like I said, in the meantime, guys, keep firing questions into the Q&A if you have anything you would like to ask. Oscar would be happy to help out. All right, so let me share my screen again here. All right, so assuming all of you can see this okay, we have the the editor in front of us. You've probably seen a similar screen to this if you've already used the app a little bit. So first and foremost, we're going to create a message. We're going to publish it and we're just going to have a quick look at the analytics. Okay. So what I like to do myself, I think it's important. We want to organize this space because it can get quite messy when you start creating lots of different messages. We do that by creating a folder. All right. And the folder could be anything, training, webinar, and we can say December 10th. Okay, so created my folder. Here we go. We can see it's empty at the moment. We'll click into this and we'll create our first message. So like I said before, the first thing I want to do is I want to say, okay, what's this message about? What am I going to call it? So I want to organize a New Year's Eve party in the office. And I want to create a message that I'm going to publish to people to let them know about this party I'm going to organize. And first and foremost, I have my title set up and I'd like to put in a heading. So what's going to appear at the top of my message, we can come here in the text module and we can put in a nice heading. So we'll say NYE party. And now the text module is very dynamic. We can do it as we can do in most text modules. We can literally center things. We can make them bold. We can underline them if we want. And basically, I'm happy with that as the heading. So I'll save that. It comes up here at the top of our message. All right. So from there, I'd like to add an image module. And let's browse free images. And let's say like a New Year's image. Lovely. Some fireworks for New Year's. We'll let that load. And I like that. That's perfect. I could crop it a little bit if I wanted to. I'll just make it a little bit smaller, use this cropping option, and maybe zoom it in a little bit and just have a nice focused photo of our fireworks there. And we'll save that. And from here, I'm pretty happy with this so far. So from there, what I'd like to do is create kind of the content within my message with a text module. So I've actually just prepared something here from earlier. Let me just get this. So basically put in my text here. I've put some things in bold and I have my bullet points here. And what's nice about this is that we can actually just refer to the person who's reading this directly using these place fillers. So first name, last name. So if my colleague Oscar was reading this, it would say, hi, Oscar Galicia, and it would apply to anyone. So I say, hi, first name, last name. This is the party that we're going to have. Here are the details, and I'll save that. All right. So happy with that. If I wanted to, I can actually use these module taskbars just to move some content up and down very easily. You don't need to delete one thing. I can just move things up and down as I like, but I like it this way. So I'm going to keep it like this. Next, I'd like to use maybe we'll say, okay, we've organized this party. I want to know if people can come or not. So we'll try a survey module. Can you attend the NYE party, and of course, want to say yes or no and give people that option. And we can also decide, okay, if people say yes, we can actually add an action. And I've actually pre-created a group here. So if I say yes and I click this little tool icon, it gives us some options. And there's some really nice options here. For example, I can take an option that says, okay, instead of just saying yes, I prefer to have an image that says yes. And for no, we'll do the same. So this image will actually replace the yes text with this nice image. And just to show you how kind of dynamic this content is, we're able to replace something with an action with the image as your options. And we can click yes or no here, which is really nice. And more than that, we can actually go and say, well, if someone clicks yes, let's add them to the group that said NYE party signups. So as soon as anyone clicks this button, we can see straight away in this group that we've created that they've signed up. We don't need to go into the analytics of the message or anything like that. You have all these options choices when people click certain content. Again, on the no option, even though if someone selects no, nothing should happen. But just in case they've selected yes and then they come back and they've decided, actually, no, I can't go, we can say remove from the group, which is lovely because it keeps that group very tidy and you know exactly who's going to attend. And we save that, and there you go. We basically have our NYE party, we have our options to go, and we're nearly there now in terms of like a fully fledged message. We can add something else, such as we'll say like a slider and say, have you understood the above? And it will just give us a little slider module there that the end user will slide, and that will be pretty much everything. And then, which is really nice as well, we can create a lot of very socialized content. So we add some comments in there. It allows people to leave comments, say, "Oh, really like this content," and go back and forth and give reactions as well, which we'll add there. So it gives you all of this kind of socialized content as well. So I'm very happy with this. My message is good to go. We have our content. I'm ready to publish it. So I'll come over here to my publish screen and we'll say, okay, now who do I want to publish this to? And keep it simple. I'll just see if I can do an all contacts. Lovely. An all contacts. There we go. I want to send it to everyone. If I want to pick individuals as well, or instead even, I might decide, okay, also this individual Heidi, I want to let her know. We want to give it a category. All right. So I'm going to give it the Ask the Expert category because our feed is only going to show things from the Ask the Expert category that we'll have set previously. And we can mess around with our content. Like I said earlier, we want to change the thumbnail, we can. If we want to change the headline of how it appears in the feed module, you can just change how certain things look, and I'm happy enough with it as it is. Do I want to notify people? Yeah, we'll go on. We'll notify people via push notification, and for scheduling reminders, you can basically delay when they get the notification. You can restrict when they get notifications. But for now, to keep it simple, I'm happy with this. We'll click publish and notify, show and feed as the expert, notify via push, and it's going to tell me exactly who's going to be notified. So I'll confirm that. All right. And I will just wait. My content's been published. You can see it. It's already grayed out. It's saved up here. Every time you make any changes, you'll see it saved up here. Sometimes it says saving, so try not to click off the screen until it shows saved. And then afterwards, we can see our analytics. So it's been published to 13 people, notified to 4. Really nice here. We'll get a lot more data here once people start engaging with the content. And the module analytics themselves, we can actually see exactly who's seen what part of the message, who's engaged with certain things. For example, with the text and the images, it's just going to be views, which is fine. But then we can also see who's clicked yes, who's clicked no. So if we really want, we can come in and see exactly who selected those things. But because we've already set up this add people to group rule as well, it's great because we have two places where we know exactly who's coming and who's not coming, and also who's confirmed that they've understood. And you get a little bit more data down here. You get it by employee, and you can change around things here of how that appears. And that's pretty much it. Also for groups as well and departments, we get a lot more analytic information. So from that, what we might do is we'll just go maybe create one more message just to show maybe a few more modules. So I'm happy with that. Now we'll go back to our editor. We can see in here where we created our folder, we have our NYE party ready to go. So let's create maybe one more message and we call this message, let me think, maybe breaking news, Christmas is here. Okay. And what we want to do, maybe we'll just we'll add an image in here. So we'll use the free images. Let's say Christmas. And we can pick, we'll say, look, lovely Christmas image. Okay. And let me see here. We can add ourselves a quiz module this time. So something quite engaging. We'll get a quiz module and say, you know, what date is St. Stephen's Day? And we basically use our options here. So we'll say 25th, we'll say 26th, say 27th, and we just select our correct answer. And we'll say the 26th. We can also give some feedback after they complete the quiz. Say once they select their answer and select submit, we'll basically get this text feedback. If they don't answer correctly, we can hide it. If we want to, yeah, why not? We'll hide the text feedback when answered incorrectly. So they'll have to answer correctly before they see it. And we can allow retakes. In this case, we say no delay. They can have as many retakes as they want. But if it's something that you really want to test people and know if they know certain content, you can say, no retakes or delay it. And you can also set up a point system. So that's a nice little quiz module there. It's going to appear like this, and people will be able to select an answer, select submit, and then we're going to see that later in the analytics and who's chosen what. Um, what else? What we might use? Okay, we'll say a slider module, which is quite nice. And you can say, how have you, something where you're going to have a scale of maybe 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. We'll say, how have you found this content? We'll say rate it. How have you rated this content? We'll put it on a scale of 1 to 5. Let's use smileys. I hated it or I absolutely loved it. And the button text we can have is submit. I'm happy to leave that as it is, but this content's very dynamic. We can change exactly what's written. We can tailor it to have some themes. Um, and what is shown when clicked, optional submit. We change that to thank you. So whenever people click submit after giving their rating, they'll see a thank you. Also, you can add navigation again. Once it's finished, you can say, okay, go back to the home page, for instance, or open a certain social group or anything like that, or even open a certain URL like your company website once they've read it. And we'll save that, and you'll see we get this nice slider module and let people rate our content, like I said. And lastly, maybe we can add a feedback module, and we can say, um, let us know any Christmas ideas you have. And this will basically be a blank text box for people to type in whatever they want. This will be just kind of faded in the background as the indication of what to write in here. And yeah, we can have, well, we'll leave it in the default. So once people leave the information in here, we want to, in this case, email the recipient info to myself. So that's a nice feature as well. Whenever someone basically leaves the feedback, they'll press the button and that information will get emailed to myself or the admin or wherever you define here. So let's save that. As you can see, you have your little feedback module and you're going to see that later in the analytics. In this case, I'd like to publish this maybe to, let's go just Jesper. Okay. And I'm going to add my category again. I want it to appear in the same place. So ask the expert. I'm going to review my content just here. That's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that. And coming down here, how do I want to notify him? I think I won't notify. I'll let Jesper come in and find this himself in his app. I won't send him a push notification, SMS, or email or anything like that. And I'm happy to publish that. So now you can see here in our analytics, we haven't actually published it to anyone, so we don't have any data here. We haven't notified it to anyone. So give me one moment here. Just go into module analytics. The image here, of course, is 0 views and everything else, but you can see the type of analytical content we get from a quiz module. And also, we can see from the slider how many people are voting on each particular option, all right? And lastly, we have this the feedback module. This gives us a really nice graphic that will show our feedback here, and it will just give a big long list of all the different feedback we get. Um, the great thing about this is, and what's important also to know, is on the analytics page, we have reporting, and this is a very widely used feature that we can create a simple report that will just include some basics. We'll just put our email in here and it will send us an email with the report. Or we can create an advanced report where it gives us all these different options and we can decide the traffic source, SMS, when it was first opened, and then the quiz data that we want to have in this report also. And we can define exactly what contact data is shown. So at the moment, we're going to have quite a lot of columns if we included all this info, but you can really tailor it to how you like to see it. So that's it for the demo. Like I said, feel free to ask if there's anything you want to see in the Q&A. I'll have a look at it just at the end of the slides, and what we'll do is I'll try demo something else maybe if there's something you want to see in particular. And just for now, to get back to the slides, give me a moment. I'll just stop sharing. So we will get back to the slides. Alrighty, lovely. So I believe you should be able to see the slides here again. So we just have a little bit of extra info here. And this info is just different tips for creating engaging content. And this is just something kind of extra that we've definitely noticed ourselves from different admins creating good content and from the stuff we've created ourselves. So first and foremost, you want to produce actionable content. And what we mean by this is it's kind of like if you do something public speaking, the more you engage your audience, the more people will resonate with what you're saying. And the same goes for Actimo and the modules. It's it's basically, if someone's filling out a quiz or someone's doing a survey or pressing buttons, they tend to engage more. And it's as simple as that. On to the next one. Tell stories about people. Of course, this is a no-brainer. If you're using content that is in respect to employees within your business or colleagues or anything like that, people are more likely to engage with it. Um, this idea of celebrating with each other, it underlines a lot of what makes successful teams, right? And lastly, to connect with your audience, of course, if we use all of these things together, if we're using our colleagues and employees as examples, it creates a better connection amongst the team. Um, so on to the next one here. Keep it short. Yes, of course. We don't want in our messages content that's kind of, I suppose, too heavy. It's like a strong cup of coffee, it needs to be concentrated and not full of filler and has to be bold. So obviously some things require a lot of text. In this case, like you can see on the screen here, even if it requires text, you can actually give a TLDR, for example, or something like it says down here, a light version on a second page. Even if your content is quite long, you always have that option. But if you can shorten it, it's always best to keep it short to keep people engaged. On to the next tip here. Use visuals, of course. I mean, it's no accident that things like Instagram and TikTok and everything else are so popular. It's short, it's snappy, it's very engaging. and it's much easier content to absorb. So always recommend, like it says here, a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you can use a picture, and our brains loves video. Um, Everyone likes a good graph as well. And so if you have those options to include it in any of your content, absolutely include any type of media. So mastering your headlines. This is quite a nice one in a sense. A clickable headline. You want to entice people. You want to draw people in with how you put a headline on your content. Um, if you like, I mean, AI is your friend as well with these types of things, of course. But for the most part, short, snappy. I want to know what's behind that title. It's a really good suggestion here, especially when you see those types of things in your content previews. You know, you're going to see exactly how the user will see it. If it's something that looks like it's clickable, absolutely go for it. If your title is too long, for example, it won't appear properly for someone. You know, it will be cut off short. And that's what happens with the content preview in Actimo. If you have a title that's 200 words long, even if it was possible, people aren't going to be as engaged with it because they can't read the full thing. They don't know what it's about. So, like it says here, master your headlines. Don't give everything away, of course. I know clickbaity is probably the term people use, but it has to be a little bit clickbaity. And choose your channel. Yeah, of course, we don't want to publish all content, all people, all the time. Um, the reason being is that people become quite disillusioned if they're just constantly getting content that's not applicable to them, it's not relevant to them. So choose your channel. Who's your audience? What teams need to see this? And like we discussed a little bit earlier, we want to do more of a push or a pull model. So push being we want to notify everyone, send them the push notification, give them the SMS, give them the email, or are we happier to see people just engage with content as they want to? And we've seen both sides of this in support. Some admins and editors absolutely prefer to make sure their content is getting sent out there. They're making sure that people know about it. But a lot of people also prefer to just post it up there and in their own, when people have their own time to scroll through that content, they'll go and engage with it. And certain things are appropriate for certain scenarios, of course. So the idea here, choose which is more appropriate in your scenario. Make it social. So of course we have loads of social options in Actimo. Um, this idea of a social wall. So we can actually have any number of groups on the Actimo platform, and any of those groups can be turned into a social space. And we obviously recommend everywhere where it's appropriate, have a social group. People like to have the slightly informal side of things rather than just be all formal, static content. Let people engage with each other, have a social platform. And what we find is that actually helps engage people with the formal stuff. You know, it helps people be talking about what's being posted on the more factual or informational side of the platform. Absolutely, we have the option of chat as well. If certain Actimo platforms have the chat option, it depends what your setup is. Um, Again, the more people are engaging with the app socially, the more they're going to be engaging with the kind of content that you're publishing as well. And tip number 8, gamify your content. This is a no-brainer. Everyone likes to be a little bit competitive, even if it's with themselves. Uh, I know I am an absolute sucker for a quiz. If I see a quiz, I feel almost obliged to do it. So my advice would be absolutely gamify your content as much as possible. Have a quiz in there, have an Easter egg hunt. We actually have a really good article on our help center where you can set up an Easter egg hunt within your app. But in general, you don't even need that. You have things like academies, you have your quiz modules, you have ways to engage people with gamification. Um, if you want to know anything about that, of course, we're here to answer your questions. But for the most part, it's you can set it up in so many different ways with point systems, and you can even have first person to answer competitions, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many ways to have people engage with the content using these kind of gamification modules. As you see here, gratification in academies, and you have this the showing the learning progress within academies as well. You can see here on the right hand graphic this progress bar. people love to get these numbers up to, whatever it is, 100%. I suppose in this case, the idea is that people get sucked in by these things very easily. So we always recommend gamification and mix up your content. Yes, like I think for the most part, we've so many options in Actimo, so many different modules, so many different ways to produce content. The most important thing is to use as many of them as possible. Uh, I believe the expression is variety is the spice of life. So I think that very much applies here. If you see here, keep your audience on their toes. If someone, yeah, like it says here, if someone is expecting a text module every single day or a text content every single day, it doesn't pique their interest. But next, post a video, all of a sudden they're like, "What's this?" Or vice versa. And make room for fun. Encouraging and enabling employee-driven content can contribute to engagement and communication, friendly competitions. Exactly that. If you're encouraging all of your users to, come up with ideas and finding different ways to engage each other, it takes care of itself. So absolutely mix up your content. Can't recommend that enough. Nobody wants monotony. Everyone wants like, a bit of videos or a bit of quizzes or a bit of text. Nobody just wants to see the same thing posted day after day. Um, that would do it for now from the slides, guys. So I'm just gonna open up the Q&A and have a quick look to see if there's anything else I can explain why I'm here, or while I'm having this little pause, maybe you want to add a question to the chat just now, and I'll be happy to show something for you. So give me a moment here. So let me see. Yeah, looks like Oscar's been answering all of your questions. Okay, nothing I can show you there. No, I think that's it for now. But like I said, absolutely feel free to reach out to us after the fact. I'd be more than happy to show you anything. Um, we can set up video calls and everything else if you want to know how certain things work. So feel free to reach out to us, and we can set up a call or anything like that. And like I said, our help center is your friend. Absolutely everything is on there. If there's anything that you think, like I said, could be improved, let us know. But I think for now, that should be okay. And if, like I said, any more questions, just reach out to us via support and we'd be happy to help out. So thank you very much.